AI spawns, Blender refines, and Fusion will analyze. Let's see the workflow from image to CAD model. We are going to convert this model generated by an AI tool to a T-Spline body within Fusion. Let's see how we can add within Fusion generative AI 3D models. So the case study platform will be CSM, and the object will be this reindeer. As we can see over here, this is the original image, and this is the segmented image, and this will be the output mesh over here. So we see the reindeer. We have the possibility to do some retexturing, but in this case I will use a default model for this. So we want to add it within Fusion, therefore the file format that will be compatible with Fusion will be OBJ. And yeah, let's see how that will import. I'm gonna jump within Fusion. I want to insert a mesh, and I already have it prepared over here within my downloads folder, and I will click open. Now, as you can see, if I will also enable the grid within Fusion, this will be the orientation of the model. So since this has been generated using AI tools, we see the grid over here, and the object is not really aligned to those. Therefore, I can jump within Fusion, and over here I can use the rotate tools. I can swap between various views, and have the possibility to try to align this model. It will be a little bit, let's say, more trickier to do that over here directly. As you can see, the model will have to be rotated on various axes, but this is still possible. So if I will just look at the model from the top, I know that I need to rotate it like that. Now I should rotate it on this axis, and again look it from the top like this. The model is still slightly not aligned. So like this from the top is quite decent. If I will jump over here from the front, again this is quite decent. And I have the possibility to position it. So this will be the origin within Fusion, and I can click OK now. As you can see, the mesh has been loaded. Now the mesh hasn't been loaded with texture because the file that was generated from CSM is not linked so that Fusion can also see the texture. We can do a workaround for that, and I highly encourage you to do so. You can download Blender. This will be free and open source. We can go to File within Blender. We can go to Import. I'm going to import the OBJ file, which will be this one. And we have the mesh over here. So I'm just going to have that loaded. I'm going to delete that original cube. And if I will enable the texture over here, we're going to see that Blender will actually be able to read the texture. So the model is properly linked to the texture. The problem is that Fusion does not read that directly for some reason. So we have over here the OBJ file, we have the texture, which is this albedo, we see this unwrapped, and we see that we have this MTL file that is doing the link between that albedo PNG file as a material for this OBJ. So one workaround for this would be to just have the model material reapplied in Blender. So I'm gonna go over here within shading, and I will just delete the original material over here. So I will delete that, I will create a new one, and I will drag and drop the texture over here, and that will be reassigned to the model. And now all we have to do is select the model, and we need to export it. But before that, I will also align this. So I press N in order to enable the screencast key over here so you can see better what I'm doing. I will press 7 to go to the top view. I will select the object, and I will have this rotated on this axis. So initially I won't specify any axis, but afterwards I can manually select the X axis, rotate Y. As you can see, we have a lot more control over here than in Fusion. This is why I recommend you to do this. Blender is different because this is not a CAD solution. but this will allow you to work better with meshes, and later when you want to have those converted to a CAD model, it will be a little bit easier. So if I'm gonna go from the side, the model will look like this. Again, I have the possibility to align it on the Y, on the X. From the front, it will look like this. So you see that there are still some misalignments that need to be done. In this case, on the Z-axis. The mesh is also not perfectly symmetric, so it's impossible to perfectly align it, but this will be more than decent. And now I can select the object, which in this case will be mesh, go to File, Export. I want to export this as an OBJ because Fusion will read that file format. And I will go over here within the download folder, and I will call this mesh from Blender. And I only want to take the selected object over here. Hit export, jump back to Fusion, and I will go to Insert, Meshes, browse from my computer, and I will select the mesh from Blender. We see the file size in this case will be 8 megabytes, so it will be more than the original mesh. I will hit open, and we're gonna have that model loaded over here. If I will hit OK, we're gonna see that for some reason the texture still hasn't been linked with this. So let me just jump back to Blender and see exactly why is the reason for that. So I jump over here, we have this albedo PNG, which if I will go, I have the possibility to open that image, which will be that one. Let me just slightly see over here. So we have this albedo. I'm just gonna call this texture, and within the material, so I will just delete that, and I will add the one called texture, have that linked, and now I will have this re-exported as an OBJ over here on the same file, selected only. We want to export the material and have that exported. And back within Fusion, I'm just gonna hide those. I don't want to delete those because we want to do some discussions. Select from my computer, mesh from Blender. We see that this has been created now. And again, we're gonna have that model, but still the texture will not appear with that. So that's a little bit odd. Usually Fusion will import that the texture as well. Not sure exactly why the texture has not been loaded, because the model has been linked. Let's take a look at the MTL file of this. Open with Notepad. It should look for the texture PNG file over here. Let's see, maybe the problem is that this is a PNG file, so I'm just gonna open this and I'm gonna save this as a JPEG. Let's see if that will be that problem. So over here I want to save this as a texture JPEG, jump back to Blender. I will link the newly defined JPEG texture, which is this one, and I'm gonna have that linked over here. Go to File, I have that selected, so File, Export, OBJ, Export selected, and I'm just gonna override this, and I will give this a different name. I think it's better to give it a different name, so that Fusion will not struggle with that. So insert, insert, insert from my computer. We have the newly defined mesh, and yeah, it looks like we're gonna have that, but we still don't have the texture. So again, not sure exactly why that texture hasn't been brought over here. We see over here the appearance, the texture map, and the properties. But usually I have many videos regarding this, and usually this does the fix, but in this case it won't. But for the case study will not be that important. mainly because we are going to work with this mesh so that we can convert it to a T-spline body. Therefore, let's go forward. I want to go over here and have this shaded with the geometry. And we're going to see that the AI generated model has quite a lot of small triangles over here that were generated by the AI tool. So the mesh is not that smooth. Therefore, if I would try to convert this mesh directly to a closed body, Fusion will also give me a warning that the complexity of the model is quite high. So let's take a look at that. Over here under mesh modify, we're going to have the convert mesh, which can also convert it to a solid or surface body, or it can also convert it to a T-spline, which will be a little bit better depending on the changes that you want to do on the model. So over here we have the possibility to do various, so facet will be the first one. As you can see, the first warning will be that this mesh has more than 10,000 triangles, therefore the computational time will take quite a lot. Also, we can also choose to either go for a parametric, and as you can see, a parametric will convert this to a solid part that we can later take and modify under the solid or surface workbench. Or we can go with a base feature, and as we can see, the base feature will create the T-spline for this, and that will no longer have that parametric relationship history, so it will convert this to a T-spline form over here. Now, before I will start to process this, I will go to mesh, and to make things a little bit easier for the processing, I will make use of the reduce tool over here. We can also make use of the remesh, but in this case remeshing is not that important, since the triangulation generated by the AI platform is quite decent. We just need to reduce the number of elements over here. So I will select the body over here. We're gonna see that we have the possibility to go with a tolerance, and the tolerance will reduce the mesh by merging faces within a maximum deviation. So for example, I can go now it's also important to have the size of the model properly defined, because usually objects that are loaded from Blender over here will be quite small. So let's just verify the dimension of this. I will rapidly go over here, define a new sketch, and let's see how tall is the reference. I will press L to define a new line, and as I said, we're gonna see that this will only have 1.5 millimeter in height. So we have the possibility to scale it, because otherwise, if I'm gonna try to do that mesh reduce, and we're gonna have that tolerance in millimeters, it will just merge all the faces since the model is so small. So before that, I will go to scale, and let's take a look at the model. We know that now it's quite small, so 1.5. I'm gonna increase this by 100, so I will select this, and I want to scale this uniform by scale factor of 100. I will click OK, go back to the right view, and if I will frame this, and if I will go and do a quick measurement with a line like this, we can also use the inspect tool, but I usually prefer the line. We're gonna see that now this will be almost 160 in height. Therefore, if I will now try to do that mesh reduce, if I will select that, if I will go with the tolerance, I can go with for example 2 millimeters over here, and there will be a lot of areas where those vertices will be quite close and they will be merged. So if I will gonna click on preview, we're gonna see with 2 how that works. Let's go with 0.2. Again, if I will press tab, I will just see a live update over here with the preview enabled. So we see with 0.2, if I will go with 0.002, we're gonna see how those will be merged. So initially we had that shape, we also have some gaps over here, but with this tool the mesh will be changed. We're still gonna have some elements that are floating that can be fixed. Blender can fix those a little bit faster within the sculpting mode. but we can also do some changes over here. So this is the first type for tolerance. We can also go for proportion, that will just add a specific number. So for the proportion, if I will go with 50%, it will be like this. If I will go with 10, it will be like this. We can also change this from adaptive to uniform. So adaptive will live in some areas where the model should have more details, like this is considered an area that has more details. Those triangles will be remained. While we're gonna go with uniform, some of those will be changed. So if I will go with 5 in this case, with 2, we're gonna see how those triangles will be merged. And we can also have the possibility to go with a face count, where we can specify exactly how many face count do we want. For example, I want to go with 3000, so not 300, 3000 for this. Hit OK, and this will be that reduce mesh. And with the mesh reduce, we can now go to the following part. So the conversion, convert mesh over here. And I want to go for a base feature because I want this to be as a T-spline, so I can further work with it within Fusion. I can also change the resolution over here by face number or by accuracy. You can also specify the accuracy from low all the way to precise over here. And we can also have the possibility to smooth the boundaries of open holes. So in this case, there shouldn't be any open holes. We're just going to have those small elements, so I'm going to add that. I will select the mesh and I will hit OK, and now Fusion will start to convert this mesh to a T-spline body. And as you can see, Fusion minimized. I now have Blender, but usually that's how Fusion works. So let's just re-enable Fusion. We have it over here. And we have an error over here, so cannot convert mesh to T-spline. Let's see exactly why. I'm gonna go over here and do that again. So convert to mesh. I'm gonna leave the precision all the way to medium, and I will leave the resolution to be by accuracy. And let's hit OK once again. And again we see that Fusion minimized. But now we have the mesh loaded, so keep that in mind. If you're gonna go for a high resolution, since the model will have quite a lot of elements, you will have those problems. Over here we have a hole that we should probably better fix within Fusion if we intend to do anything serious with this model. Since this will be just a case study, I will just rapidly show you how to do that. So back to Blender, we can go to sculpting mode, and over here we're gonna see the mesh like this. And all you have to do is hold down the shift key, and you can use a draw. This will automatically go to the smoothing. You hold down the shift and you see how you're gonna fill those in. So you can even for elements like this, where we have one vertex at the top, this will just smoothen that out. So this is important to do before if you want to have a more precise model. Over here we see that we have some elements on the interior. If I will try to smooth that, we're gonna see how that will slowly change. So in this case I will need to go inwards and smooth it from the inside. So let's see how that will work. We see the mesh will have that element over here, so I have the possibility to smoothen that out. In this case it's quite isolated, so I should also delete this. We can always go back to the layout. I can select it like this. I will step again on the inside so I can better see that area. And we see it over here. I can press tab to go within edit mode. I will go to face select and I will select this. And now if I will press Ctrl and plus on the numpad, we're gonna have that selection increased. And at the end I can click delete, and I want to delete all those faces. If you want to zoom in onto an area, you can select it, afterwards press the comma on the numpad, and that will give you that zoom in over there. We have this floating over here, so I'm just going to select that and delete those faces, and we can do the same over here. So let me just press the comma, because I pressed minus, that gave me a zoom out, so I want to delete those faces, and this as well. Now if I will press tab, I will still have those three faces that I will prefer to delete, and we're gonna have this feeding that I can select. I can hold down Alt and click, that will give me the loop selection. I will press F and that will fill it. And with this field we can go within sculpting, and we see that we need to correct that section. So I hold down Shift and smooth this out. So we see how that has changed. You can also go with various other tools over here, for example blob or inflate, to add some more geometry over there that you can later smooth out. If I will enable a texture, the model will look like this, because unfortunately the texture and those faces have been changed. So it is highly recommended to go within the texture of this, within the UV-editing, and have that fixed as well, but that's not the main purpose of this video. Let's say that the main purpose is that I want to showcase the fact that the combination between generative AI, Fusion and Blender can create something really interesting, and can offer a lot of functionality on the model, so we can control a high amount of elements, starting from the geometry to the texture, and later we can have those converted to CAD model like this. Since this is now a T-Spline body, I can enable the modify over here, so the edit form, and I can do some selections on the model, and this will work just like a T-Spline mesh, so I can move it, I can rotate it, and I can scale it. Let me just scale that over here, so we can see some faces over there haven't been selected, so I can do like this, and I can make those legs bigger or smaller. So yeah, we have that functionality on the model. The reindeer is not perfect since it was generated by an AI tool, but as you can see, we have the possibility to go and further do some changes over here using the translation, scaling, and rotation. So we have that possibility on all those axes. Okay, so I hope you find this video useful. I highly recommend that you will give Blender a try, because the functionality for the mesh editing are quite superior to Fusion. So we see that this mesh also has a problem over here. We have the fifth leg over there. Let's see. Yeah, that fifth leg was was also present over here, so quite weird, in the front of the model. Okay, so thanks a lot for this. I hope that you will give this a try, and I will position a similar video on the left side and a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.